want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Hey everybody, Chris Bunbury here again for JoBlo in Las Vegas at CinemaCon, and I just walked out of Warner Brothers' big presentation, and man, did they ever steal the show this year. I think they kind of rocked the house last year when they did that early look at the Matrix footage, and they really outdid themselves this year because they showed off basically the entire slate of DC films, but they kicked things off with an announcement that The Batman 2 has officially been greenlit. What a surprise. In other news, I guess water is still wet, right? When a movie makes $750 million worldwide, I think you can safely assume that there's going to be a sequel. But they did reveal that Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson will both be coming back again. Not a huge surprise. But from there, they went into some amazing footage. We got to see extended looks at Elvis, which looks great. But I imagine that everybody that's watching this video probably wants to know about the DC footage. So we did see some footage from The Flash. Ezra Miller has been in the headlines lately. No mention was made of any of this. Instead, actually, what they focused on was the reveal of Michael Keaton as Batman. So we saw a new trailer for The Flash, which shows this kind of old man figure hidden away in a house, in a mansion. And he's got long, scraggly gray hair, which I assume is Bruce Wayne, right? He's a recluse now. He gets a video from Barry, basically spurring him to action. You see him go into the Batcave and you see the Batsuit revealed. And at the end of the trailer, it cuts to Michael Keaton in his full Batsuit, but without the cowl, saying, all right, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. And of course, if you've seen Batman 1989, you'll know that's one of his most famous lines, right? And the audience went completely insane. Keaton looks like he's having a great time. I cannot be more excited for this movie. Alas, it's more than a year away. And hopefully, all the drama involving Miller will have subsided by then, because it really does look like a great DC superhero movie. We also got to see some footage from Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Helen Mirren was there. So was Zachary Levi. It looks pretty much like the first movie, a good mixture of comedy and action, definitely geared more towards a family audience, I think. There's a really funny scene, though, where Helen Mirren's character, who's playing the big bad, and Shazam are having lunch. They're eating at some fast food restaurant, and they start talking about the Fast and Furious franchise. Shazam says to her, I've seen all the Fast movies, and I know all you have to do is rely on family, basically assuming that his superhero pals are going to come and save him. They don't. It's kind of a nice little slide nod at Helen Mirren's growing fame, of course, in the Fast and Furious universe, and in addition to all the other things that she's done over her long career. She seems like she's having a blast, and she actually said that one of the great things about working on a project like this was that she didn't have to be naturalistic. She could just kind of go all out, which, it looks like she does, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty fun movie. From there, we saw a sizzle reel of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, of course, which is James Wan's follow-up to Aquaman. They didn't have a full trailer ready, but what they did was they showed us kind of a little behind-the-scenes piece that had some footage from the movie. One of the things they did, though, is it highlights Black Manta as kind of the big bad of the film. He's been imbued with this kind of evil power that's turning who was originally kind of like this dark mercenary, but wasn't a full-on bad guy, into truly an evil character. And Aquaman and Orm, who's now his not pal, but I wouldn't even say sidekick, but ally, once again played by Patrick Wilson, have to stop him. It looks like Black Manta is still kind of a sympathetic character. It's more the evil that's growing inside of him that's the villain. They really couldn't show us too much from it because it's quite a long way away, unfortunately. But it looks pretty cool. And then we got to see some more footage from DC stuff. They showed The Rock himself came out on stage and showed us a quick look at DC League of Super Pets, which of course looks, fun. Not much more is revealed in this one than was in the original trailer. But then we got a full look at Black Adam. It was kind of like a teaser trailer, and I'm pretty sure it's going to make its way online any day now. So it opens up with Pierce Brosnan's Dr. Fate basically telling Black Adam that, asking what kind of man he is and whether his powers have ever benefited him. And Black Adam says to him, I died a slave and I was reborn a god and I kneel to no one. So Dr. Fate, played by Pierce Brosnan, says that he's got a choice. Black Adam can either destroy the world or he can save the world. And I'm pretty sure he's going to save the world. That's at least what the trailer made me think. So The Rock actually just said something really cool on stage. He said that Black Adam is kind of like the Dirty Harry of the DC universe. And, it definitely looks like it's a harder edge DC movie than we're used to seeing, with Black Adam liberally killing bad guys in this one. And he's actually kind of chastised for that by another hero saying, we don't kill people. And he says, well, I do. So it looks like it's going to be a bit of a darker than usual DC movie, and it looks like fun. The Rock seems very high on this movie. I hope it lives up to his expectations. It seems like he's put a lot of himself into it. He even said it's the thing in the morning that gets him up and stokes his flame. So I really hope the movie doesn't flop. It does look like he put a lot of himself into it, though, and that The Rock is really playing a character that's different from the usual lovable Rock persona that we usually see. So in addition to that, we also got a look at Salem's Lot, which is also from James Wan, and is from the writer, well, the guy who adapted It for the big screen. And he came out on stage, he's directing the movie, and he said that one of the things that's great about Salem's Lot is, like it's never been done as a proper feature film before, so they really didn't have to kind of, copy anything, right? And they have nothing that they're going to really be compared against except for the 70s TV movie. And it looks a lot like It, as a period setting, set in the 70s. Lewis Pullman is kind of our hero, and he looks very affable in the same way that his father, Bill Pullman, is. We didn't really get too much of a look at it. You don't really see the vampires, but you see some of the attacks, and it looks like it's definitely going to be really scary, really creepy, and definitely R-rated. So I'm looking forward to seeing this one. So one of the movies that they teased that looked really cool to me was Don't Worry, Darling, directed by Olivia Wilde, who's also in the movie. So this one wasn't really high on my radar before. I'd heard it was going to be kind of a mix of comedy and horror, but it looks, hard to define, like it's many genres at once. So in it, Florence Pugh plays a housewife in the 50s who's living with her husband, played by Harry Styles, in this kind of communal area, suburb, that all work for this government project called Project Victory that's run by Chris Pine. And nobody knows anything about the project other than the fact that it's really scary, of course. And I thought it was going to be supernatural or horror, and I'm not really sure that's what it is. It kind of feels almost like a conspiracy thriller. It's like the Stepford Wives meets the Parallax View, if that makes sense to anybody who's a fan of 70s films. It looks really cool. It's got a really great soundtrack. It has this really cool score over the trailer. I imagine the trailer's going to be out pretty soon, and I think it's really going to impress people. So another movie we got to look at was Elvis. Baz Luhrmann came out and did a really great job selling the movie. So he's made something which was called the Red Curtain Trilogy, which is strictly ballroom, William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, and Moulin Rouge. And he said that in a way, kind of, Elvis is like the start of a new Blue Curtain trilogy, meaning that he meant for it to be somewhat more accessible to a general audience than his other movies. I think he tried to make it a lot more reality-based than what we've seen in the past, because he's telling a true story. He's telling an actual story about Elvis Presley. It looks really cool. I mean, it looks very Baz Luhrmann with the footage that they showed us, where he's performing a song and it's cutting to newsreel footage and the audience going completely insane and the authorities want to put him in jail because it's all too sexy. It's going to be a controversial movie because I think that Elvis, as much as he's loved, is kind of a divisive figure to some. But this is a movie that's definitely celebrating Elvis Presley and his legacy. And in fact, Baz Luhrmann came out and he talked about how much he loved the Batman, but said that we can't have Batman all the time. But that in some ways, Elvis himself was kind of a superhero, and that his life really has the arc, the great rise and then the fall, and the enemies that he had to face, and then what eventually happens in the end to Elvis, which is kind of a tragic story if you know how his story ended. But what's really cool is Elvis Presley as a figure encapsulated the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s in a very unique way. And Baz Luhrmann said that his intention with this movie was to tell a story of America in that era. And what better vessel could you have than Elvis Presley? And having seen the footage, I think I have to agree. Otherwise, we didn't see anything from the Meg 2. We did get a first look at Margot Robbie as Barbie. They just basically showed us a photo of her. But we did get an extended look at Wonka, which is going to star Timothée Chalamet as Willy Wonka. Seems like he's playing Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka and not Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka, and that he's kind of more, engaged and not as weird. He's kind of almost swashbuckling in some ways. So Chalamet looks like he's having a lot of fun in the role, smiling a lot. He usually plays kind of a more dour character. He seems like he's just having a nice time. There's a lot of great music. We saw a bit of a musical number. It's directed by Paul King, who did Paddington 1 and 2, and it looks like the same kind of magic is sprinkled on this movie. It comes out Christmas 2023, and I have a pretty good feeling that's going to be a big hit. But of course, what stole the show for me, and probably would steal the show for most of us, is that amazing DC footage. And man, I'll tell you, the DC movies that are coming out in the next 2 years, they're definitely going to be make and break for the company. as much as the Batman is kind of an anomaly, I think that these are the movies that are going to really establish whether or not DC or the DCEU really works. You know, they didn't make any announcements about what they're going to be doing now that they had the Warner Brothers Discovery merger. You know, they didn't come out and announce a new Superman movie or anything like that, but they do seem to have a lot of confidence in the movies that they have wrapped, and they definitely look really good. So it was a heck of a presentation. I had a great time watching it for JoBlo here in Las Vegas at CinemaCon, and plenty more to come.